AI YouTube video script, When Democracy Meets the Military, the untold story of Nigeria's fragile 1980s. Introduction. Hook. Imagine a government where the military stands quietly in the shadows, not to defend the country, but to watch and wait, ready to strike whenever democracy falters. Sounds like a thriller, right? But this was Nigeria in the 1980s, a real-life political drama you've probably never heard about. Building the curiosity gap. What happens when the military decides it's the nation's moral compass? How does a civilian government survive with generals pulling strings from the shadows? And why would ordinary citizens cheer for military coups? Stay tuned as we unravel the fascinating story of democracy under siege, a tale of power, politics and betrayal that defined an era in Nigeria's history. Section 1. Military as a government in waiting. Between 1979 and 1983, Nigeria had an elected government. But make no mistake, true power wasn't in the hands of the politicians. It was the military, acting like a government in waiting, ready to swoop in and rescue the country any time they felt the need. They called themselves the custodians of national interest, a patriotic shield, not against foreign enemies, but against their own leaders. Take this chilling announcement from the first coup of the 1980s. We have decided to effect a change in leadership to protect our national interest. Sounds noble, right? But it raises the question, what happens when the protectors become the rulers? Section 2. Politicians versus the military, a tug of war. Here's where things get messy. Even as soldiers returned to their barracks after 1979, they didn't stay out of politics. Some senior officers went so far as to draft a list of ministers they wanted the president to fire, and even suggested replacements. Imagine that level of control. Then there were personal clashes. Major General Muhammadu Buhari, yes, the same Buhari who would later lead Nigeria, openly defied orders during a border conflict in 1983. His refusal to withdraw troops from Chad nearly caused a mutiny. And let's just say, his relationship with the government became frosty. Behind the scenes, suspicions brewed, surveillance was heightened, and tension hit a boiling point. Section 3. Coup plots everywhere. The air was thick with rumors. The Director General of Nigeria's National Security Organization claimed to have detected up to 10 coup plots. 10! But it wasn't all smoke without fire. One plot involved a disgruntled contractor who wanted revenge after losing a government deal. His plan? Recruit soldiers to overthrow the government. Spoiler alert, it didn't work. He got caught. But these were small fish. The real danger came from seasoned coup plotters, officers who were always prowling, waiting for just the right moment to pounce. General Babangida, one of Nigeria's most famous military leaders, later admitted, "We planned the coup first, then waited for frustration in the society to justify it." Section 4. Why the public cheered for coup. Now here's the twist. Every time the military staged a coup, they weren't met with resistance. They were welcomed with open arms. Why? Because Nigerians were fed up. By 1983, corruption scandals rocked the government, teachers weren't paid, and oil wealth was vanishing into thin air. People were so frustrated that many believed the worst military dictatorship is better than this democracy. Let that sink in. When democracy becomes synonymous with economic chaos and political scandal, even a dictatorship starts looking attractive. Section 5, 1983, the perfect storm for a coup. Then came the rigged election of 1983, a scandal so big it made headlines everywhere. This was the final straw. President Shagari was re-elected amid accusations of fraud, incompetence and unchecked corruption. The country's frustration reached a boiling point. It was the moment the military had been waiting for. By the end of 1983, the inevitable happened. The military struck again, deposing the government and stepping back into power as saviors. a role they knew all too well. Conclusion and CTA. So, what's the takeaway? Nigeria's story from the 1980s is a powerful reminder of how fragile democracy can be when trust is lost, and how quickly frustration can turn protectors into rulers. It's a cautionary tale not just for Nigeria, but for democracies around the world. Do you think the military was justified in taking power, or did Nigeria pay a heavy price for this cycle of coups? Let us know in the comments below. Final hook. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories about the hidden chapters of history where power and politics collide. Hit that like button if you're as captivated by these untold stories as we are, and we'll see you in the next video. This script combines gripping hooks, storytelling, and open-ended questions to engage.